Hello everyone, and thanks for checking in with me again. If you're new, welcome. Just draw up a seat and we'll get started. Today I'm going to teach you an extremely powerful, life-changing meditation technique, one that I've been practicing for many years. By life-changing, I mean immensely healing to the point of trauma erasing and beyond, because it's like a supersonic rocket that whizzes you out of the past. Ultimately, it is capable of healing much more than PTSD and depression caused by stuck grief. Although, yes, please, we'll have some of that too, thank you very much. But more than that, this inner technique turns you and your body into a magnet, which you can then use to attract to yourself any outcome you want. Now, I know some people like to ask for shiny red Maseratis when they work on pulling their future towards them, or to meet their ideal Mr. or Miss Right, or a beachside mansion with French windows leading to a swimming pool that mirrors the blue of the sea, stretching off until it dissolves into a blazing magenta sunset on the horizon. You can probably tell that's one of my desires. And I have found the ideal location. But then I realised that none of all that is going to be any good to me without my full health. A realisation that's hammered home hard, I promise you, by the time you reach your full 70 years and 10, despite a lifetime of yoga and Pilates. So that's the sort of future I want to attract towards me. And once in the zone, the healing is instantaneous. Whether you're looking for physical ease or emotional comfort or even rejuvenation, seriously, it's better than Botox and much more natural looking. The magnetics are so strong, they instantly flood your cells with healing frequencies of harmonic light, and no dis-ease causing discord can stand in their way. It's very easy to do. It's easier than falling off a log. And you don't have to worry about having to try to still the mind, as I used to do. I have to admit, I spent many years in Indian ashrams trying to stop my mind from thinking, because so many great sages have said, enlightenment begins when the mind stops. It was all to very little effect, well, compared to what I'm going to be teaching you today. And if you're still plugging away at mindfulness, please forget it. It's a complete waste of time. What those sages actually meant was something quite different to how we've interpreted it. The mind does stop with this technique, but it is just not the cause of the experience, only the effect. Because that little chatterbox that goes on and on and on about what happened in the past and what could happen in the future suddenly finds itself all gift wrapped up in the most glorious present, and it is actually too awestruck to speak. But before we get down to the practice of what I'm calling the ecstasy of the heart technique, I want to tell you all about how I first discovered it. Because, truth to tell, it was an extraordinary present gifted to me out of the blue in the early 90s when I had no clue about what I'd been given. Talk about looking the gift horse of sovereignty in the mouth. I was staying with a closed order of nuns in a Benedictine nunnery on the Isle of Wight. It was a silent order, which means that the only time these beautiful nuns opened their mouths to utter anything, it was purely and solely to the glory of God and in Gregorian chant. One night I found myself in a strange mix between praying and meditating. I would have called it shamanic trance, but I didn't know then what a shamanic trance was. Anyway, I slowly slipped into the state of spiritual ecstasy and adoration, and that's when it happened. My magnetic floor opened, and out flew the most extraordinary, powerful energies of light. I had no idea what it was. I didn't even know the term magnetic floor then, so I panicked and tried to close it down, which was impossible, seeing as I didn't even know how I'd unlocked whatever it was in the first place. I just had to wait for it to subside, which it did after several minutes. Then I breathed a sigh of relief and banished the memory to the furthest back cupboard of my subconscious, never to be spoken of again. However, my subconscious had other plans. So it wasn't too long after that it threw Tom Kenyon's shamanic sound healing work across my path. From him, I learned the mythological language of the alchemical marriage that takes place within the human being in a state of ecstasy and adoration. When the water serpent El makes love with the magnetic Magdalene. You may not know this, but El is one of the oldest words for God. It was the one used in the Old Testament before the revisionist scribes got hold of it. And for the New Testament, they named the male principle Gabriel. In those ancient days, a virgin was not a woman who hadn't had sexual relations. She was a woman who reserved her sexual favours for the gods, like Gabriel. No wonder she sang the Magnificat. In other words, the Bible story was a metaphor for what could be called the electromagnetic marriage. So, if you know, as you probably do, that everything in this universe is constructed from electromagnetism, you will already no doubt be visualizing the waves of this magical marital congress, undulating and intertwining and dancing in eternal ecstasy. For many years I have described this process alchemically and mythologically, as I do in my book, The Sacred Sex Rites of Ishtar. But I realized that to reach a wider audience, I needed to be able to explain the biochemistry of the process in the words that modern science uses. And modern science, being what it is, hadn't even started to look for any until the advent of quantum physics. So now, thankfully, we have scientists like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Jude Currivan, who've studied neuroplasticity, epigenetics, mind-body medicine, and brain-heart coherence, who are producing some quite fascinating biochemical explanations. They found that during the ecstasy of the heart becomes engorged with blood, which releases the hormone oxytocin. This triggers nitric oxide that opens up the veins and arteries to allow through a great flow of blood. As these rivers of blood course through, the cells lining the veins and arteries secrete a substance they call endothelium-derived relaxant factor, or EDF. EDF is made up of information-carrying molecules that send information to the brain, which signals it to send a huge magnetic wave to roll through the body that's about 3 meters wide. Now, I shall probably get into trouble with the you-know-whos for saying this, but triggering this process is surely the most perfect solution to heart disease caused by blocked arteries and blood clotting. But anyway, quite frankly, helping those with heart disease is the very least of what the ecstasy of the heart technique can do for us in terms of mind, body, spirit healing. This is because it causes the heart to become a magnet, to attract or magnetize the heart's desire. And so if your heart's desire is spiritual enlightenment, well, I can only say hold on to your hat, because it's all about to get quite psychedelic. We soon discover that the heart is not just an organ that pumps blood to keep us alive. It is actually, when approached from the right direction, a portal into other worlds. So let's get going. Please make yourself comfortable. Don't worry about sitting cross-legged or tangling up your legs into a full lotus position or anything like that. Just make sure you're adequately fed and watered, and place a glass of water nearby where you're going to be working. Then lie down on your own comfortably familiar bed or sofa, or in a nice comfy chair. However you like to work, it doesn't matter. The position is not important. What is important is that you're comfortable. Now, take a few relaxing breaths to shake off the stress of the day. First of all, you'll need to become aware of your heart. It's the organ at the centre of your lungs and below your breastbone, but slightly to the left. I want you now to focus on your heart, and at the same time begin to think about something that you are grateful for. It could be a hugely blessed event that has sent trills of happiness throughout your life. Or it could be just something as simple as a delicious dinner you enjoyed yesterday, or anything in between. It really doesn't matter what it is. It is the action of the gratitude itself that's important. You just need an excuse to get your gratitude muscle working. I'll give you a short while to get that going while I sound a fork tuned to 528 Hertz. Once the gratitude is flowing, imagine it in the form of golden nectar filling up a cup or chalice. Then, when you breathe in, inhale the golden nectar up through your lungs into your nostrils and then breathe out into the room. Keep doing this, breathing in the nectar and then breathing it out into the room. Now visualize that nectar spreading across your whole neighborhood, then your town, then your country, and eventually the whole world. Once you've achieved that, you are in the quantum state. So you are now in the quantum state. From there, make your intention, because in this present moment, this present of the moment, anything is possible. You will be feeling the magnetics beginning to awaken in your body. It might be like a tingling sensation at first. Sometimes we feel the energy racing to the part of our body that most needs healing. Eventually, a wave of energy travels right through your body, up from the heart to the brain, down to the pelvic region, and then along the legs to the feet and out that way. Just enjoy it for as long as you like. It is so blissful you probably won't want to move, but don't worry, you can't overdose on this stuff. The longer you stay there breathing in the nectar and breathing it out to the whole world, the more you will heal on all sorts of levels, some you didn't even know about. When you decide to pull yourself out of it, do so slowly. You may not realize it, but you've been on a magic carpet ride and you will need a few seconds to reacclimatise. Then take that glass of water you prepared earlier and drink it, and your body will receive all the magnetics you've just produced. I hope you found this technique of the ecstasy of the heart helpful. And if when you go out afterwards or the next day and catch sight of your neighbours and other townsfolk smiling at you, enjoy it. They're just feeling grateful to you. They just don't know why. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.